Good afternoon. This is Jim Williams with the Hurricane City Tropical Update for August 23rd around 3 p.m. I only do update videos when there is a hurricane threat in the Atlantic Basin, and this afternoon we do have a hurricane threat. There is a hurricane watch in effect for north of Port Mansfield, Texas to San Luis Pass, Texas. It looks like we could potentially have a hurricane impacting the Texas coast going into Friday evening and even lingering into Saturday, and this thing could take some crazy tracks, so I'll talk about that in just a minute. We also have an invest off the Florida coast, so let's take a look at a visible satellite. Taking a panned out look of the entire Atlantic Basin, visible satellite courtesy of NOAA. Of course, Harvey stands out in the Gulf of Mexico. We have Invest 92L lingering right off the coast of southeast Florida. We have a big upper level low up near Bermuda, and we have a brand new tropical wave that just came off the coast of Africa, just west of the Cape Verde Islands, and some models indicate this could develop. In fact, the European develops this and takes it into the North Atlantic. But what happens here with Harvey, the system generally moves off to the northwest, and according to the European model, this moves in near Corpus Christi and then backs out over the Gulf of Mexico and heads up towards western Louisiana. That would be a very interesting track, but all the models are generally indicating that there's going to be some lingering going up in here somewhere. So whether it takes a path back out over water or stays on land, it's going to be a heavy rainmaker. We're talking 15 inches plus of rain. We could see street flooding of 2 to 4 feet depths in some of the streets, especially in the highly populated areas around the Houston area, if this track were to pan out. The Canadian model takes this kind of into South Texas. Strangely, the UK Met, which is one of the better performing models, takes it further north up towards Galveston and maybe even towards the Texas-Louisiana border. So there is quite a bit of uncertainty here. Now, we also have this area right off the coast of southeast Florida, Invest 92L, and I've been tracking a little swirl that's been north of Puerto Rico, then it went north of Hispaniola, right into the southeast Bahamas, and now it's right near Andros Island. The National Hurricane Center was tracking the broader circulation, which is up near Grand Bahama and Great Abaco Island up here, but this area near Andros continues to flare up. And indications from the models are that this is going to eventually scoot right off the coast of Florida, develop off Florida, and then move off to the northeast, off the southeast Florida, United States coast, and north of Bermuda. It remains to be seen whether this will impact the Canadian Maritimes, but it looks like this will probably shoot the gap between Bermuda and the U.S. and kick on out into the open Atlantic. While I have the shot up, there's a real interesting little swirl out in here, and here it is right there. There's a little teeny rotation of swirling clouds, and this is kind of like what Invest 92 looked like when it was north of Puerto Rico, just a little naked swirl of clouds, and we'll keep an eye on this, but right now there's a lot of dry Saharan air wrapped out in here, and it's really difficult for anything to develop under these circumstances. In fact, other than the European model taking this particular system north, the other models really don't show very much happening out here for the next several days in the East Atlantic. So all of our focus is going to be on the Gulf of Mexico and what's going to happen with Harvey. Looking at the visible floater loop of Harvey, you can see that the system is still not real well organized. It's got that classic S-shaped look to it, though, where you see this kind of a thing, and it's definitely getting its act together, but it's not doing so in a hurry. And the reason for that is that we have a little bit of upper level winds. First of all, let's go ahead and take a look at the upper level winds here, and you can see north of the center of circulation there is still some wind barbs here heading north, and that's the upper level low to the northwest of this system is causing some southwesterly wind shear over the western portions of our developing system like this, and it's not really allowing it to ventilate and build a high aloft, but the upper level low is supposed to gradually get out of the way or weaken, and the high is going to build over this system. But right now there's a little bit of wind shear, and not only that, but we also have very warm sea surface temperatures below this system. Right now it's in temperatures around 85, 86 degrees, but as it gets more off to the northwest, you're going to see temperatures right up in here, 87-degree water temperatures in advance of this system. So it's got everything going for it. Once that upper level gets out of the way, I think we're going to see this thing really take off, probably in the area where my circle is where this is going to get its act together as it heads towards Texas starting tomorrow. Here is the color-enhanced water vapor loop from Colorado State University, and you can see Harvey in the Gulf of Mexico, and there is our upper level low just to its northwest, circling right here, and you can see that southerly flow on the west side of Harvey. But you can also notice the front is coming down, which is going to cause all kinds of problems for this system. A little bit of high pressure is going to build out here and kind of trap this thing, and it's just going to meander generally towards the northeast here. But this upper level low should wash on out. And you can see that it's already beginning to do so in this water vapor loop. It's very pronounced, and as the frames go by, you can see this upper level low is beginning to loosen its grip on Harvey, which should allow this to go ahead and develop. Also, if you notice here off of the Florida coast, Invest 92L, notice this large upper level low right out here swirling near Bermuda, and that's causing some northerly winds over the top of Invest 92L, which is unfavorable conditions for this to develop off the coast of Florida, but it's going to be a heavy rainmaker for the Florida Peninsula over the next day or two as this slowly meanders off to the north and then eventually northeast where it could have a chance to develop, but right now conditions are not favorable off the Florida coast for Invest 92L. Harvey developed back on August 17th east of the Windward Islands, moved through the Windward Islands as a tropical storm, and then dissipated in the central Caribbean Sea before regenerating today in the Gulf of Mexico. But the good thing about having this much data going back over 5 days is you can get an idea of which models are performing the best. We run a program at Hurricane City that calculates these models every 24 hours. And going back 5 days, we have a pretty good idea of which ones that are performing the best. So far, the HWF2 model is only off by 25.1 nautical miles since the beginning, averaging over a 5-day period. So it has by far been the best performer. This is a variation model of the HWRF tropical model. And some of the other models here, the EE models and the UK Met have also performed very well on this system. And then you have the ones with the bigger error rates up in here. You have the X-Strap is always going to be a large error. You have the TLCP, the OCD5, and the AVN2, which is a GFS version model. So they have not been performing as well on track. Now, as far as intensity, going out 5 days, you have a lot of data to work with here, but the UK Met has been the best performer on intensity, as well as the European model has only been off by about, some of the ensemble models of the European model have only been off by about 1 knot over the past 5 days on tracking of Tropical Storm Harvey. So those models, UK Met and the European, have been very good on intensity with this system. So looking at the projections of the models on what they think the intensity of this system is going to be at landfall, let's take a look at the EGRI, the UK Met model, which is one of the best performers on intensity. And you can see this has it right at hurricane status, right when it approaches the coast, right about 75 miles an hour, and then tails off as it tangles with land. Some of these other models up in here, that TLCP and the ship model, they also have it right around Cat 1 winds, maybe 80 miles an hour. But keep in mind the TCLP model hasn't been doing particularly well on intensity so far in this system. So, but the European, the UK Met, 75 miles an hour. That's probably pretty close to what's going to end up happening based on its performance so far with this system. So let's take a look at the best performing models on track over the past 5 days. Now these are the operational models, not the ensembles, but their members are doing very well. So let's take a look at the HWRF. That takes it pretty much just south of Corpus Christi, Texas, maybe even into Kennedy, Texas. And the ECMO, which is the European operational model, also takes it very close to that location. So the best performers overall taking it just south of Corpus Christi. The official forecast track is just north of Corpus Christi. In fact, let's go with the official track and see. There it is. The official track has it further north than that. So it's going to be interesting to see if those best performing models outperform the National Hurricane Center. This graphic from the National Hurricane Center says it all. This is what this storm is going to be all about. Rainfall, plenty of rain. Look at the bullseye over the Corpus Christi, the Galveston, Houston area. Upwards of 15 inches of rain, 10 inches in all surrounding areas down towards Freeport, Matagorda, even towards Corpus Christi. We could see 6 inches plus of rain. Look at this, all the way into Louisiana, all the way towards New Orleans. All these areas could see over 4 inches of rain from Harvey as it moves on shore, because Harvey is going to be stalling out and meandering along the coast. Rain is going to be the huge story with this, so it's not really that important to focus on where the center of Harvey makes landfall. It is going to be a huge rainmaker, as a lot of the convection is going to be north of the center as it makes landfall, so that's what we're going to focus on. So we'll keep an eye on this. All these graphics I showed you can be found on the front page of hurricanecity.com, right below the tracking map. All the links to the best track information on Harvey, and all the graphics from the National Hurricane Center. All the satellite images can be found on my predictions page, hurricanecity.com/predictions. For all the additional information plus my predictions. By the way, Port O'Connor, Texas is my number 12 in my top 20 this year, so we'll see if this has a direct impact on Port O'Connor, Texas. And there's a couple of other cities just below there that I did have in my top 20 as well this year. Anyway, that's it for now. I'll try to do another update video either tomorrow or on Friday morning before the landfall of Harvey. We'll know much more about the situation by then. That's it for now. Thank you for watching. I'm Jim Williams.